The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network. He's a member of wrestling royalty. His repertoire and skills in the ring are unmatched. He's always been loyal, trustworthy, and has a work ethic that is unparalleled. He's been bashed by his peers, by the media, and even by the fans. But he's living proof that our worst days do not define us, and neither can other people. Welcome to Rebuilding the Foundation with Teddy Hart.
Joining us now, we finally got somehow it worked. I came up with a little idea that we rigged it, so it's technical stuff. You guys wouldn't understand anyway, but welcome to the show. Duane, good evening, sir. An hour and a half later, we finally figured it out. Thank you for being patient, and welcome to the show.
If there's anybody still watching, I do apologize. I'm not very computer savvy. I thought it was going to be a fad. I did pay attention in class. Turns out it was pretty serious.
All right, so I know you already told us the story before and we couldn't hear you, but you just have to say it again, brother. So
I'm going to make it a little quicker than Teddy. I grew up on a dairy farm in Iowa, a small dairy farm in Iowa, but we also had hogs, we had cattle, we had land. So I spent most of my life growing up milking cows and baling hay. I grew up hard knocks. I was a real strong Christian family, big into the church, Christian household. We had, people don't even realize what this means, but we did 3 meals a day around the kitchen table, with the whole family. I had 2 brothers and my mom and dad, and we had breakfast, dinner, and supper is how we called it. And you had to sit there at the table. My dad read a chapter in the Bible after every meal. And it was silence. You had to listen to that. Now, it sounds crazy. That's the truth, which means I probably had the Bible read aloud to me out loud. I don't know, 3-4 times at least. And that's crazy to think. That's truth. So it was a real strong Christian household, hard labor. But I was brought up right. I can't say enough about that. The upbringing I had was, I knew the right difference between right and wrong. I chose wrong a lot. Just because I'm kind of a daredevil, and I grew up on dirt bikes, milking cows, baling hay, busting my ass, never leaving the farm. But if I did leave the farm, I was raising hell, and it was fun. I played football and wrestling. I was a good athlete. I was a good student. I went to college, got homesick because I'd never been away from the farm before. But I managed to get through that, and college ended up being the best years of my life, somewhat. Since then, I have evolved. I graduated college as a probation officer. I resigned from that after 2 years because I was asked to. I'd never revoked anybody in 2 years because I was also one of those people that I saw good in everybody. I still do. I deal with some people that are hindsight 2020, probably not the best people in the world, but I see good in everybody. I see the positive, not the negative, and it's been a weakness and a strength both. But I resigned from that because I never revoked anybody. My supervisor said, he goes, "How many people you ever revoked in your life? Or since you had your job?" I said, "None." He goes, I said, I guess I have a good caseload. He goes, "Duane," he said, "that's impossible." He said, "You sure this job's for you?" I said, "I don't know. I think so." But anyway, it wasn't. I resigned. I got in the car business because I've heard it's a good job, and it's a great job for somebody who's got gift to gab, which I do, and who can relate to almost anybody, which I think I can. And I did really well. I got into it at a good time. I got promoted at a good time. I worked for a national franchise company. I then was recruited by another company that was a big company. It was a small company, wanted to be a big company. And long story short, it all worked out in my favor, and I did well. I had a heart attack when I was 45 years old on December 25th, Christmas Day. That changed a lot. And things kind of down for a minute.
She's such a fucking clown.
But then they went back up. And life can always be better, but my life has been pretty good overall. I can't say I ever had a bad life. I went through some rough patches, but nothing that I couldn't get through. Nothing that didn't make me stronger, bigger, and wiser. I'd like to say faster, but with age, I'm not getting faster.
Yeah, me neither.
The bigger, faster, stronger thing, I think I can still get bigger, but not in the right spots. I think I can, mostly right now, I'm amazed that I'm 51 years old. I still think I can get wiser and wiser and wiser. I'm open to so many things that I never thought I'd dealt with. And I'll tell you what, I continue to grow my wisdom. That's one thing I can say. I don't know if I think I'm physically probably going to go much further. I think I'm in very good physical health right now, but I did have a heart attack, like I said, Christmas Day when I was 45 years old. 5 years ago from this past Christmas, I had a heart attack, and that was truly genetic. My family's always had heart issues, both on my mom and dad's side, and I had a heart attack, and I got a stent in. I had a little clogged artery. So anyway, after that, like I said, I think I'd look at things different than I used to. But I like the nice stuff. I still like the hot stuff. I still like all this stuff to make it quick. So you gotta handle it right.
So growing up on a farm, I mean, that had to instill like a really, really strong work ethic. And that's probably why you've been so successful, because, those values were instilled in you at such an early age.
That's 100%. I give it all of that. You know what? I don't believe in sleeping any more than you have to. People go, I can't sleep. I go, but you're not tired. Work. Do something. When you're tired, you'll sleep. Trust me.
Yeah.
People, I can't sleep. I need to take some sleeping pills. I'm like, fuck, you ain't tired then. If you're tired, you'll sleep. Trust me. Some people don't need as much sleep as others. One thing I'll say, if there was a survey with all the people that are worth over like $100 million, the average hours of sleep they take is like 5 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah. I believe that's accurate, and I don't need more than that. I think I need less than that.
I'm not there with the finances, but I'll tell you what, if you've got energy and you don't have to sleep, don't sleep. There's too much to do. And if there isn't enough to do for you, then you need to figure it out.
I totally agree with you. I think my thing was, I've heard a few theories on sleep, and I know the WWE schedule is insane and it's nonstop. And it's the only job type of international travel, airplanes, and customs, and then rental cars, and then driving to different places individually. Even though you're a team, you're on a show, you're going there on your own steam. So, that schedule scares the hell out of me. And I heard Vince McMahon was a master at sleeping for short periods of time, that he didn't like a lot of sleep, that he would sleep for 3 or 4 hours, or maybe 3 hours, short periods of time. And imagine Tyson Kidd. He's got to be one of those guys too, that he can sleep on I imagine in a second, because I think he's always tired, but he's never tired, if you know what I mean. But he's worked to that point where his mind is doing so much. He's following his dreams, and he's making things happen on a worldwide scale, doing 2 shows, not one, but 2 shows. So, sleep to me is overrated, definitely for certain things. If you're that type of person, know yourself. Bruce Lee's rule: know yourself. So if you know you need 8 hours, if that's your thing, and then and you're not functioning, you've tested your limits, and you've seen 4 hour, 3 hour, 5 hour, 6, and you've cat naps don't work for you, then whatever. But I used to whenever Duane didn't sleep much, but when he would sleep, I would always wait to wake up, and so I always would wait to see when he'd wake up, and he'd always wake up with a smile. Every time I ever saw him wake up, he woke up smiling or joking. I never saw him wake up grumpy. And you're talking people asking to borrow his Rolexes, asking to borrow his car, waking him up to fucking for nothing, just to, if they can borrow a shirt out of his closet, and big smile. Yeah, go in here. Or if they can, I'd see people laying on his bed he'd let them sleep just to wait. And then, it was one of the most ingratiating people I'd ever seen, and just generous and smart and funny, and he just rubbed that off on everybody else. And it was anywhere he went, he made the room a better place, and bigger smiles on everybody in that room. And that's a feeling of confidence when you're around a winner, you're around a champion, you're a guy that's independently wealthy enough to do what he wants. And he's got stories of traveling all over the world. And he told me a story about fishing, and I'm gonna let him tell it, but he did, he described a lot of stuff, and I'm just sitting there listening. I'm like, because it's in Canada, and he had to go all the way to Canada to do it. And he talked about sacrificing, the fish for the end, which I heard about these things. And if you never did it, you wouldn't know all these little things. But it's better because Duane always has a video camera too, so he's got a camera that videotaped a lot of his shit. So I joked around with him that I'm doing a documentary on people I've met, and that the people I've met in this documentary are going to be the people that I want to do a story on, basically, of us rebuilding the world around me and going back and helping kids out and homeless people and really making a difference of giving you the little tools that I know for sure. If you hung out with me for 2 weeks and it was me, Duane, and another person, you'd learn a lot from us, and you'd go back into the real world a way more efficient person and way happier, and know how to navigate and how to deal with the monotony of the same day over and over and over again. But to master that day and to make that day, like I say, a focal point for everyone else that hangs out with you, that if they ever spend a day with you, they know that day is going to be a happy day with a bunch of laughs and a free spirit. And that's what Duane and his wife treated me like family. And I didn't even really tell him who I was when I first met him. I remember he wanted to know who was driving this bedazzled Maserati. He said he'd seen it a few times. He's wondering whose car it was. He came into an after hours. It was like a private bar that my friend owned, and it was like 11 in the morning. We were up all night from the night before, and then Duane came in, and he was just, I said, man, you're good looking. First thing I said, man, you're a handsome guy. I said, what a good looking guy you are. And I said, he must be a bodybuilder, And then so some of the girls were making jokes to me. Oh, he's gay. I said, oh, whatever. I could care less if you think I'm gay or not. I said, just because he's a beautiful man, I should be able to give him a compliment. Alpha male to alpha male. I said, that's something guys are scared to give other guys compliments now. I said, it's a lot of work to be that guy. So he invited me back to his place, and I spent 7 days with him, just, and he told me a story about meeting Batista, and he told me a few stories about meeting Ray Mercer, and if you just different things, that I'm like, that's the average guy has never done these things. He told me a story about his airplane. His boss had a private jet, and when he hit the certain level, this thing went black and made a sound. He said it was the loudest sound he ever heard in his fucking life. And I remember just the details of him telling his stories. I sat and listened for about 5 days, and then I started telling Duane all the stories that he told me back to him, because I'm going through I want to know all these different stories. I want to know more details of these stories. And he said, I'm astonished about your memory. And he said, and that's what we kind of grew on, he's like me, where he's a storyteller, but he lived it. And he's very accurate with his description because he did it. And that was his life story, was to tell a story of how he was making the world a better place. By just coming into contact with him, you could guarantee you were going to walk away educated and happy. And so that was a guy I wanted to bring on to my entourage or to my team. So, and he's here now. But Duane, if you could just tell the story about the eagle. I thought this was a fucking phenomenal story.
Hey, Teddy, before I jump to the Eagle story, can I tell them how we met?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I think we're jumping the gun a little bit. Our Eagle story was like 5 days into our relationship. So I go to the strip club, and I go to this big strip club. It's in Tampa, Florida, and it's the biggest one in Tampa. So we're talking about big place.
Oh, I know which one it is, actually.
I see this blinged out Maserati that's got diamonds all over the damn thing. It's red and white. I'm like, the fuck is that? And so she goes, my God, who's that? I said, I don't know. We'll find out. So we go in. It's just me and her. And I said, you know who that person's going to be in the VIP. So we go to VIP, and I look around. There's this guy dressed in total WWE wrestling gear type shit. Like he's going on to go to the biggest match of the century, and there's a girl surrounding him. It says, that's the guy that owns that Maserati. But I didn't talk to him. So after the bar closed, or after that closed at 6 a.m., mind you, somebody said, hey, you going to the party afterwards? I said, party afterwards at 6 a.m.? They're like, yeah. And now this is not totally unheard of for me. I've been around the block. So I go to this bar that was closed, that they opened back up at 6 a.m., and there this guy was, and he had like 8 girls with him, probably. I don't know. What do you think, Teddy? 5, 6, 8, maybe.
There's a few. I saw that video.
He goes, good looking dude. I says, what? He said, you're a good looking guy. He says, what's your story? So, and then before you know it, that bar had to shut down because it wasn't supposed to be open. So I just happened to live 3 blocks away. So I said, let's go to my place. I said, I live downtown. I said, we'll just go to my place and we'll have a party. So he came there with all these girls. He came to all these girls. And I'll tell you what, I'm not as big into asking questions as most people. So I think 3 days later, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? and then he started doing a handstand on in my kitchen dining area. And started walking around. I'm like, this guy's over 200 pounds. He must be a circus guy. I thought maybe he was from, like Sarasota's close, and they're the founding of the circus, So I was thinking it must be Ringling Brothers or something shit. And then I said, "What do you do, Teddy?" And he goes, "Oh, come on." I go, "Oh my God, you're a wrestler." That is a true story. That's how we got to know each other. And then I think he stayed for about a week. And there's a lot of stories, and that whole deal alone is a lot of good stories. But let me tell you, Teddy came to my place as a guest, an unknown guest. And on day number 3, I think I found out who he was. And day number 7, I told him, "Man, I got things to do." So that's the gist of us me meeting Teddy. It was all because of that blinged out Maserati.
Yeah, that car was my project. I'm working on a project with bedazzling the cars with the wraps. Now I have a guy named Frank who's in Tampa, who I'll get his company, and I'll put that on the website in the future. But he does some of the best wraps in North America. And adding the crystal to the wrap hasn't been done yet. I just did the crystal alone, and I did it by myself, and it was unbelievable at night. But during the day, you could see some of the lines, and there's a little. I mean, I did it, like I say, by myself at night. Really hard to work with it. I was the first guy to ever see do it, and I'm doing it on $100,000 car, so it's fucking. I'm risking a lot, but at the same time, if it comes out right, there's a walking billboard, and it brought people into my life. Like I say, I try to be flashy so I can talk to people about God and about life and about their story. And what a lot of guys don't know about me is I usually don't tell people who I am ever if it doesn't come up. So I've never bragged about being a wrestler. I never showed a guy a video. Half the friends of mine watch videos of me because someone else told them who I was a couple months later. And then they go, "Man, you never even said a word who you were." I said, "It didn't matter who I was. That means nothing." I said, "Worst if I was, famous and an asshole." I said, "But I'm not famous." I said, "Being famous means you're popular amongst your friends." I said, "Because I don't know what the rest of the world thinks of me, because the rest of the world doesn't know me." I said, "People that want to know me, I spend time with them, and the rest is all hearsay. So I hope to God I put an image out there that is real when it's time to put the image out, which is now. This is me. This is the person, not the wrestling character. That wrestling character is trying to create controversy and make you think it's real, or make you think I'm crazy, or whatever keeps you watching." And like I say, controversy helped fuel my career and also helped kill my career. So I go into my career as being a friend. My career is being a life. It's a career. I take it as a career, as being a best friend, a really good friend. I value that I have probably 20 friends out there that I love to hear from them. And Duane, I put at the top of the list of people that I met in the shortest period of time I felt the most comfortable with, because he was in the same area as me, but we were not competing for the same bone. We shined each other. He made me look good. I made him look good. And we were a great mix, and the balance was unbelievable. And the synergistic energy that came off of two people creating another energy was contagious for so many people that wanted to be around us every single night. If you were part of the right group, you're either going to Duane's for the private after hour parties, or you were going to go see a buddy of mine named Hal and go down to one of his houses on the water and do the boats and the yachts, and wake up in the morning and go on the fishing boats and stuff. And it was just a beautiful, relaxed life for me, who's on probation and trying to get through this last part of my life, and knowing there's a documentary that was filmed, but I have no idea if it's going to be good, bad, or ugly. But I know that I have enough connections to do TV. So I wanted to put together a team of people, first on a podcast, get everybody training and talking and seeing how we work together. And then I wanted to create a show like an Entourage, but a real show with real life people. And the simplest could be the simplest thing of Duane and I were giving sandwiches to 20 homeless people, and how entertaining it was to see their smile and to see that they were actually, and when they see us, how excited they get. I remember this guy, Duane had an expression for him. What would he say, Duane, when you asked him how he was doing? Fucking great.
Every day I'd give him one. He's like, "Duane." I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, Kurt?" I said, "How you doing, man?" He says, "Not good." I said, "Kurt, I ain't going to give you shit. You keep acting like that." I said, "Life is better than that." I said, "I'm in your life." I said, "How's great? How's life?" He goes, "Oh, good." I'm like, "I want you to say fucking great." I said, "Every time." I said, "Otherwise, I'm not going to give you shit."
This is a homeless guy with nothing, guys. This is a homeless guy sleeping on the street underneath a bench on the corner.
No, Pedro, this isn't a guy standing walking up to your window asking for money. This is a guy who's living on the streets. This is a guy who's laying there sleeping with his head on the sidewalk. This is a homeless person down in Tampa. I've got several of them I can talk about, and I tell you what, I take care of these guys. And
amazing. You're talking about a guy who could be. He's at the club with the hottest strippers all the time. Beautiful women. I'm talking 10, 15 girls. Like it was astonishing how beautiful the group of girls that we met in Tampa were. And really cool because Duane's the alpha and his wife is the one that all the girls go to. She's the mentor. She's the, the head lioness. So they all go to her. She's got, dude, she's a millionaire. That's her own shit. That's her Rolex. That's her fucking car. That's Duane's Rolex. I mean, I watched Duane have 5 Rolexes and 4 people were wearing his Rolexes out. And he was just, you're talking $30,000, $40,000 watches, real ones, no joke. Letting basically girls come in so they could go out and they could work, with whatever they do, meeting another guy. But I mean, I'm a stranger meeting a stripper. I see her with a Rolex. I'm taking her a lot more seriously. And Duane's trying to help perpetuate their success in the image department of whatever they want to create, this mystique, this character of importance and wealth and like a magnetism. The girls they want to get their clients into. So when you have someone helping you, and those girls, dude, I watched Duane give girls brand new cars to drive, and they would always bring them back. And when they didn't, there would be a phone call made from a few of the other people saying, like, do you understand who you're fucking? You fuck him, you fuck everybody. He's the one feeding us. He's the one taking care of us. He's the one running the parties, and he made everybody's happy. I never saw one fucking thing ever until the last day I talked. I think one of the last days I talked to Duane. There was some problem, power outage or something at the house, and I ended up having to leave, and I didn't talk to him for a couple of weeks. And then after that, I know that his wife was dealing with some stuff, medical issue stuff that she had to take care of. And I knew the date was coming. So I wanted to make sure to text that I was thinking about you guys and how was everything, and did everything go okay? And he said, everything's good. And I said, listen, for me, I said, I'm one of those people that if I feel like I've offended or I've done something or I've overstayed my welcome, or I'm the first person to say sorry or thank you, or can we try this again at a later date when I'm in a better headspace, because the probation was killing me. It was killing me. I wanted to be, Duane doesn't smoke weed, but he likes to drink. I couldn't even really enjoy having a drink freely, and I couldn't smoke any weed and just relax. So I was always sitting there like, wondering when this ended, how this was going to be. So now that I've done the probation, my life goes back to picking and choosing who I want to rebuild my foundation with. And Duane was a guy who was just like, I want him there, and I want his story, and I want people to get to know, his sense of humor and his kindness, because what made him happy. And you're talking guys that have driven private jets, the nicest meals, the vacation, spending fucking thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever the fuck he wants. He was happier cutting. I know genuine happiness. When I see it, you can fake it and you can hustle me. I hang out with all the biggest drug dealers for years when everybody was first starting. I grew up with a lot of heavy fucking guys, and I saw a lot of motherfuckers because Brett knew them, or they were friends with Davey, or they had steroids, or they were fucking sold this guy drugs. He was a wrestling friend of a wrestling guy. Wrestling fucking, everybody. The genuine happiness is something I put such a high value on. My mood. If you fuck my mood up, man, when I'm in the right mood, it's worth $1 million. You got the right people around you. You're in the right mood, the right mindset. Duane was a mood guy. When you're around him, he made you in a better mood, and he challenged you to be happy, and he challenged you to fucking say, look at me and watch me. And then I don't have time to hear the negative. Sometimes I try to stir Duane up a bit just to see. And he'd always say, no, I don't have time to hear it. I don't want to hear anything negative. I don't care about it. I don't give a shit. And so I was like, okay, good. I like to test what people's marks are, what they really are, what they really stand for. And my story was he had more happiness, genuine happiness out of watching this guy come back, and how excited he was the next day to show him his haircut, because Duane had cut his hair for him. And instead of giving him some shitty haircut, dude, Duane actually sat there and this is like 100 degrees out, sweating his ass off with a homeless guy who hasn't showered probably in a week, unless Duane took him to shower. That would have been the only time he could have showered. And so Duane cut his hair all nice for him and gave him, some money, and never enough to enable him to do something stupid, but just enough to keep him honest. And it was, everyone in that neighborhood knew who Duane was and his wife was, and when they walked their dogs. And it's a weird environment because you're talking about $1 million. This is a fucking very high end apartment condo complex. How many stories is it, Duane? It's like 40. 24 stories. So, I mean, you're living in one world, on a penthouse type of world, then you go back down to the street and you got a guy who's homeless, and and for that to be what made him happy, I was like, man, that's astonishing. That's what I used to go around giving homeless people money all the time. I used to get shit for it from a lot of people. They would be like, man, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, dude, that's my prerogative. And they're like, you think more of people like that than you do your own people. I said, what's my own people? I said, we're all the same. I said, we're all humans. I said, if you don't have empathy and understanding for that poor guy, I would hate to be that guy. I've always had that curse where I've hung out with so many homeless people that I had to get a taste of it, very close to what it was like to be homeless, just for a small taste. When I first got out of jail, I had no one to call. I didn't have a phone, and I was just absolute fluke lucky that some guy wrestled and worked at 7-Eleven, and he had happened to wrestle in a match in Texas with me. And he said, hey, and I know you. I said, man, please, I'm absolutely fucked. I'm about to go to the shelter. And it was pretty cold here in Texas when I got out at the time. And I didn't know a soul. I had no numbers, nothing. And he gave me a free phone. And he's like, go to this guy's house. He's like, this guy will pick you up here. And they saved my life. Basically, they got me a hotel, and I was able to finally call my lawyer and get my dad. And then TJ and a few people sent me some money just to survive, Western Union. And that feeling of almost being homeless, absolutely, it crippled me. I froze there just for a second, and I thought about just how lucky the hot shower was, how nice it was to wake up with other people in the morning to have a breakfast or a prayer, how much the prayers meant in jail when all of us got together and we prayed to Jesus. And somehow every time, I remember like the 8 times these prayers, each one of those prayers had a significant meaning where these guys would pray before I went to court. And every time they did this, I remember at 8 for 8, something good would come out of it. I'd end up getting less time, or I'd get released, or this would happen. And it was, so the power of Jesus and the power of God, or the power of the Creator, to me was something that I saw in Duane. I saw that in you. I see that in my friend Tanner, who basically took a guy off the street who he didn't even know and said, you can stay at my house. And then a week later, he'd made a whole little living room for me. He got a blow mattress for me, and he got a bunch of stuff, some cupboards, some closets, like a couple little dressers and stuff. And he'd folded all my clothes and put them in there for me. Came back and he's like, I just want to surprise you. He's like, you always have a home here. And I'm trying to film this documentary, so I don't want to be spending any more money. I spent $65,000 last year on hotels, I think, and gas just to drive back and forth. That's 65,000 flushed down the toilet for nothing, like I say. And then probably the year before that, probably 50. So that's $100,000 of whatever hustle money and people paying me back. And a lot of people paid me back that owed me for weed business or weed ideas, or have made a lot of money off my connections. Like, I'm a numbers guy, I give phone numbers to people. And after that, like I say, I don't want anything for the connection. But if you're doing good, I would hope to God you throw a brother a bone down the road. And like I say, my friends that have taken care of me kept me afloat for these years. I haven't been home, guys, in 6 years, one time in 6 years.
Wow.
I hadn't seen my dad or my mom or my house. So when I went home, I said to, when I finally got home the one time, I said to my dad, I don't know when I'll see you again. He says, well, I just got a 100-inch TV. And I turned it on, I remember, and I got a call, and I had to change my flight, and I had to go. I couldn't even set them to watch the first. I was like so excited to get a 100-inch finally. First one's paid way more than what it should have been worth, because it was like a new one. Of course. And never even got to watch it. And I remember my mom saying to me, don't forget about the animals. And that was her thing. She said, the animals are watching you, and the animals make you a better person. Don't ever lose your love for the animals. And I remember Duane, how much time he spent taking care of his dog, the hare, because she's like a Persian version of a dog, but big. So the amount of time and how he treated his animal, his wife makes special food. She'd warm up food for the dog in a special little tray and a special plate. These are wealthy people that don't have to do shit. They could have a slave maid in there, and I've never seen Duane not take out his own garbage. And if he never would ask, I would take it out before he could ask me, because I watch all these people and they never give back. And I always was sad. I'm like, that's the one thing people mistook his kindness for weakness. You're talking about a very smart guy who knows every dollar. I one time wasn't thinking fucking straight, but I don't even know. I can't even say. I think I probably had I think I ate mushrooms. I had a mushroom chocolate bar. I think I could pass my piss test. Probation's over. So I was pretty sure I could take mushrooms and pass my piss test. So I think I was on mushrooms, and I made Duane go down and rescue this fucking Russian girl, this Russian model. And so I bought a bunch of teddy bears on his credit card, not thinking. And there's like $100 worth of these little fucking stuffed toys. And he looked at me, and a day later, he's like, hey, motherfucker. He's like, don't waste fucking money on stupid shit. Like, he's like, fucking, and I'm like, holy fuck. I said, sorry, Duane, I didn't even think of it. He's like, that's the one thing you never do. He's like, you never cost me money until today. He's like, don't be that fucking guy. He's like, everyone else just takes. He goes, be more conscientious. He goes, because it's, and I said, oh, dude, and he was right. And I remember how bad I felt. I'm like, oh, fuck, you don't even think about, because it's every penny that he made, he worked for. Yeah. So it might look like he's fucked, but he's got an accounting for all that time that he put in to get that money to do whatever the fuck he wants with it, not what the fuck other people want to fucking deceive or perceive that they should be doing with your generosity. And it gave me a perspective on what people really have to do for you, which is fucking nothing. They don't owe you shit. But as a brother to brother, I watched a stranger take me in, and I watched him treat homeless people the same as he treated the guy at the bar that was running the whole club. The exact same treatment and the exact same smile, or a better smile for the guy, because his happiness was generated from something weird. Duane makes people happy, and it's like a code. I mean, 6 a.m, I'm watching. He's bringing someone breakfast. So where are we going today? He's like, we're going to give this guy. We're going to buy these guys needles. He'd go to this place and he'd give these guys clean needles and a bunch of towels and stuff. And they're, or where I'm like, he's not doing it because this is what his day is. I'm just watching. I'm sitting in the pasture. He's just watching this guy, like, I'm just thinking, man.
I hung out at trap houses. You know what? I never ever understood the way. How does a person get to the point where they're sitting in an apartment or a house with a bunch of people and they're shooting up the drug that they don't know if they're going to die or not when they get done shooting up or during the shooting up and stuff like that. And I'm fascinated by that. I don't look like the kind of guy that fits in that environment. So then I thought I was a cop at first, but I happened to run into somebody that led me to another person, and I spent literally hundreds of hours in trap houses. I wanted to learn about these people. I wanted to understand them. I wanted to do a documentary on it. I wanted to find out what was the day like that you decided to shoot a needle into your vein and possibly die. I was fascinated about that. But then what I wasn't impressed with is these people are so poor because they will do anything for their next shot because they're true addicts. And when I say true addicts, they cut an arm off before they would go without. Yeah. And I witnessed some really gnarly, wild shit. I mean, Jesus, I can't believe what I got to witness. But the one thing I couldn't believe is they were shooting up and they were all sharing needles because they couldn't afford them. And people are like, "You're going to give them new needles?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm going to give them new needles."
That was the thing. Idiots would complain. I would tell the story about Duane, and they'd look at me and they go, "Why is he buying people needles? Why is he at a trap house?" I said, "Because he's fucking independently wealthy and he studies people, and his happiness is based on what he decides makes him happy. You can't tell another guy what the fuck's going to make you happy. If he wants to spend time with homeless people and that's what makes him happy, and it's his money, then he's the fucking man."
But most people are ignorant. I don't want to say stupid, but I would to certain. But they're ignorant, and people don't realize. I'm telling you right now, I'm talking, but there's people in this group that one is a graduate of Texas A&M with a master's degree. I mean, these are not dumb people. One was an airplane mechanic. I mean, we're talking about some major people that are successful in the past. They truly are turned down a path where they don't care if they die. And that's what's sad. And I want to know what brought them to that point where they wanted to shoot up. But what I did want to do is have them, I brought them a 10 bag of fucking of needles, so they didn't have to share syringes. And people sometimes bitched about that because I'm enabling them. I'm like, you think I'm going to enable them? They're never going to go without.
They're going to do it anyway.
They're going to do it. I'm going to make it better though, and then hopefully they're going to say, this is a really nice guy, and they'll listen to what I have to say. And what I have to say is, quit, get the fuck out of this, and come to my place, and I'll lock you in a room. That kind of thing.
Yeah, like I said, they're going to do it anyway, regardless. So
they're going to do it anyway. Yeah. But if you do something that makes them realize that you care, but not in a holistic, like, you got to quit now because this is a sin, that they can listen to that. You know what they're going to listen to? They're listening to a guy that looks like me, who comes in and throws a bag of needles at him, and then whips baloney at him, and to remind them of jail, and then tell them they're all fucking idiots. But then give a shit enough about them that they start to take you real, and over time they do take you as a serious person that does care. I'm giving rides to these guys. There's girls. I'm helping them out. I'm doing all I can, because once they have your trust, they'll listen. Yeah. And once they listen, then you can change people.
I love that, man. That's a great outlook. And dude, you don't like Teddy said, you don't have to do that. You're in a position in life to where you don't have to help people out like that. And that just shows how much character that you actually have. And obviously that was instilled in you when you were young. But I've given, people that are sitting in the streets money, and my wife's like, "Why'd you do that? They're just going to go buy drugs." I'm like, well, that's on them. That's not on me. My conscience is clear. I helped them out. The Lord told me to give them money for whatever reason. And I did. Whatever they do with that is their own thing. That's not on me.
Yeah. On Christmas Day, and this is kind of sounds crazy. It makes me sound like I don't have enough to do. But on Christmas Day, I went over to this area. There was this trap house I used to go to, and I'll tell you what, I got to know these people. I got to care about them. I went there on Christmas Day and I handed out $20 bills to everybody there. They thought I was truly Jesus. And I didn't do it for that reason. I did that because I wanted them to know that people cared about them.
Right.
Seriously. That's it.
Teddy, you have a knack for, and maybe it's not just you, maybe it's the Lord putting these people in your life, but I mean, you, whether it's Raul or Duane or whoever else, like, you have such high quality people in your life.
Oh, yeah, I traded that I traded the position with, in my eyes, The Rock years ago, because I knew right away, like I say, without the right people and it wasn't for me. So my reward was being able to use a wonderful name that Brett created and my grandfather created, and then Vince McMahon pushed all over the world. And he, like I say, universally, the Harts were known as the good guys, and they stood up for right. And the story of what happened with Brett was sort of like a fairy tale type of story of the good guy getting fucked and screwed, and the cheater and the guy taking shortcuts and missing work and doing sneaky stuff, which was Sean, the bad guy, the bad character, won. And once the bad guy won, it changed the way the whole world looked at things. So for me, again, finding good guys in life is like I'm a treasure hunter. I love meeting the right people, and I love sitting there, and I'm an investigator. I hung out with so many cops without being a rat, sniveling, cheese-eating piece of shit rat. I say it twice type of guy. I respect cops when it's a cop, and there's a time and place when you police shit. And I always tell guys, I'm like, listen, dude, I know a lot of cops, and I'll if you hang out with me long enough, you'll think I'm an undercover. I know that many fucking cops, and I'm not supposed to say much, but I know a lot of Shriners, and I know a lot of Masons that are friends with, or judges and people that behind the scenes. You'd never know that I'm even friends with them, but they like what I stood for, and they've always watched my videos, and they said that guy is fearless. I never did it for money. I did it for a simple conversation later when Duane says, why'd you do that? I said, so when we have this conversation 20 years later or whatever, I'm here right now, I can say to you, I did this because it meant that much to see a stranger in the audience smile and clap his hands. I lived through wrestling. I am universally known as the wrestling royal family. So as a royal family member, I can live off the wastewater that comes off or the runoff without ever having to be on TV. I still am famous enough to be important enough to go. When I tell you something on the street and there's 90 other guys you met that are all 89 Joe Schmo type of guys, but Teddy Hart's there, and I tell you, listen, what made Duane so cool was Duane did what he wanted to do because he had the money to do it, because he learned how to do it from hard work, and his dad taught him about the Bible, which is it's a code. It's a book of codes, of tricks and smart ways of doing things. Each book has its own secrets, but the smallest, stupidest thing, smile at somebody. Give them a genuine handshake. Look them in the eye. Give them a hug. I remember I used to be so kind to wrestling fans that the boys would think I was fucking crooked. They would almost be mad or threatened or somehow. I'd be so close with the fans after the show, or I'd go out and sit with the fans. I'm not at the show to sit and be in the back hiding. I'm there to be a fan. I own my own company. I'm there because I want to be. I'm not wrestling in indies to get rich. I'm there. If Feinstein doesn't want to bring me, don't bring me. I'm still going to have money in a pool, and I'm still going to live with people that are wealthy, and all my friends still trust me. Trust is international trade. That's the most valuable currency, is trust. When you trust someone. I remember I lost Duane's Rolex for 3 days. My friend actually took it by accident, and he didn't know it, but he was wearing it. And I remember Duane called me, and he's like, "Where's my watch?" And I said, "Brandon has it." Duane knows Brandon, and Brandon loved Duane. Brandon is a doctor. He does surgery, so he's a surgeon guy, or he sets up the surgery before the doctor comes in to prep or whatever it is. But he makes a few $100,000 a year. He looks like Jesus, has a big beard, and blonde, beautiful black curly hair, and I said, I'm out 20 grand right now, so I'm going to have to pay Tara for this watch. I said, this is fucked. So I get a call, and he says, "Oh, no, I have the watch." And I said, "Shit, thank God. I'm glad," because it was a good test, because Duane and Tara, I think, were at that stage going, man, we trusted Teddy with everything. And just like everyone else, usually most people you trust turn out to let you down. And I remember thinking, this is a good point where I bring back the watch to Duane and Tara, and this will solidify that, to me, that they trusted me, and that I never fucking abandoned them. I took advantage of their trust or betrayed their trust. And I remember bringing it back to Tara, and she she was like my mom. She's like, "You fucking shouldn't have, that was the wrong one. You're supposed to take the other watch." And I'm like, "Okay." And then she's like, "Here, you can have this other watch." And then Duane's here. He's giving me another $20,000 watch. I can wear this one, but not this one. That's the one Tara wanted for this week. And I was like, man, I said, "You guys are so funny." I said, "We're up at the casino, and I got it. an 18-year-old girl and me, another, I think 18 and 19-year-old girls that are just hanging out, but they look young. And Duane says to me, he goes, those girls look pretty young. And I said, yeah, I know. I said, fucking, what am I supposed to do? I said, they have ID. I said, they're both old enough. He's like, yeah, maybe just don't have them in the casino at parties. Like, they look like they're like, 15, 16. He's like, they're young looking. They're pretty beautiful girls. I was not but they wanted to hang out. And I remember thinking that girl told me she was avoiding her boyfriend because he had given her fentanyl. And all of a sudden, and the other one, she said, I never hung out with anybody that just gave me weed. She's like, all the guys are trying to give me fucking terrible drugs and get me fucked up. And I said, well, you're here with us. I said, you got a meal and you got a safe place to stay, and gave her some weed. And I remember like a couple of weeks later, she said the cops came to talk to her about me. And she said she told the cops how nice I was. And they said, we've heard that many times, that the sparkly, shiny suit guy with the Maserati who sticks out like a sore thumb is actually one of the most humble, nice guys you'll meet. And he always gives you lessons on life and about God and about certain drugs you should not be doing. And I'm pro certain drugs. I'm not like I say, I've experimented with some drugs and had great times on those drugs. And I'm not going to get into it, but I was in the rave scenes and I've been around, some guys that microdosed acid that were MIT graduates type of guys that are geniuses, and they have their own way of doing things. But they would slap me across the face if I smoked a cigarette. And if I told them I was on mushrooms, they'd bring me to their house and fucking, and tell me to go meditate with them. So this is like a way of, you get your perspective on traveling the world and traveling with different people on what makes them happy consistently. That's another big thing, is consistent happiness, and trying to find a certain base level of consistent happiness. So you never go too far up and down, right? You can ride in the middle and you can stay balanced. And it's the key to life, is being balanced. So Duane is very balanced, and I learned a lot from his lessons of being balanced. So.
Well, we're going to have you on more, Duane, because there's so much more that we have to tap into. And like Teddy said, we're introducing characters into Teddy's story, right? Into Teddy's life. And, you're part of his entourage, and, you're willing to be a reoccurring guest on the show. I'm already putting words in your mouth saying, oh, fuck, yeah, sure, I'll be on your show. But
I want to say, I just want to, this is the only thing I want to get across. I really, life is short. And you know what? Honestly, being nice to people is easy. It's simple. It's so easy. It's so easy to be nice to people. Say hi to somebody. You don't want to be, there's times you get in an elevator, somebody, you're like, fuck. First of all, I don't like when people talk in the elevator. But you know what? It's awesome when you walk out and you say, hey, have a good day. Hey, hope you, whatever. There's ways to go about nice. It might just be a smile, a nod. Hey, pet my dog. It might be whatever. But you know what? Being nice is easy.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how easy it is and how you might change somebody's day because of it.
Exactly.
That's absolutely right. I can't thank you enough for coming on, Duane. I love hearing your story. There's probably a million stories you can get into, but
we stretched this. I hope I'm hoping that it ends up becoming story time, but we know how, like I say, the characters we have. So it ends up being 5 to 10 of these guys that kind of come on and off. Duane ends up being an interviewer too, is what I really want, is we end up interviewing other people that we found together now. Because we don't know where this vehicle is going to take us. Is my big thing. Is I'm building a vehicle. This is a vehicle. I don't know where this vehicle is going to take me. I don't know who's going to listen. And I know my message is universal, and it's clear, and it's about God, and it's about respect, and it's about redeeming. If you felt you made a mistake, acknowledge it, be accountable for it, but don't live it for the rest of your life. You can fix it, and you can make mistakes, and you can come back from it. Look at me. I'm a prime example. And also having really smart friends and good people around you. When you do rebuild, it's a lot smarter rebuilding with the right parts instead of building with faulty parts. So that's having faulty friendships based on characteristics that you should have caught in the first, say, month. About that person, about what really makes them or breaks them, or the fiber of the man inside, and the kindness of his heart when nobody's watching, is my mom and dad's secret thing. Is when nobody's watching you, what kind of person are you?
That's right.
But yeah, Duane, I know he's got his kids, and I know I kept everybody with this because I was late too. So
I definitely got to go. Yeah.
So I appreciate that, Rob.
I got a sheepdog, guys. If you want, hey, hold on a second. I got a sheepdog that's been 7 this whole time.
Aww.
She's a smart dog too, man. Very smart dog.
Yeah. She opens doors. She just listens and hangs out. She's chill.
I love that. I love that. That's so cool. Well, thanks, Duane, for coming on, brother. Thank you for your patience, first of all, because it took a long time to get this together.
All right. See you guys.
All right.
Love you guys. I'll call you later on tonight, Duane. Touch base with you. Thanks, Rob.
You got it, buddy. We'll do a wrap up here.
Okay.
That way I can close the show out. Thanks again to Duane for coming on. Man, what a fantastic guy. You're right. He's a beautiful man.
Well, I'm not even touching on, like I say, I'll get into some more details about some of the stuff, like the parties he threw, and just like how he'd have 30 girls there. And I'm like, he's down there, and these are beautiful. Like, guys are paying thousands of bucks at the club to hang out with for 5 minutes, and every one of them's at his house just chilling. And he has a pole in his other, and they're all just chilling, having a good time. And the energy in his house, that when he's in there, and when people are around a successful host who's he's a character. He'd have the whole room sitting there listening to his stories, and he has video to show you everything he's done. So you're watching, you're listening to a story, and all of a sudden he's got a video in, and it's the story, and he's showing you what he did when he did it. And it's like, that made me even more of a fan of his. So again, my whole life story is about what kept me happy and kept me going, and why I did what I did, which is, I believe, one of the sacrifices I made, which is a scary sacrifice, was I looked a wheelchair in the eye for 25 years, and I stared it down. And I beat the wheelchair. And that was because people kept me safe. And I believe there was outside energy from fans that has subconscious power they don't even realize that they have, but they're so powerful. They kept me safe all those years because they knew the moves I was doing. There was no error. There's no room for error. I'm coming down on the concrete. At one of those times I should have broke my leg or blew my knee out or landed on the guy and broke his shoulder. Yeah. And somehow there was some magic and some life jacket that God kept me safe with, that I wanted to ask, how can I explain this to the world, or show people in the world that this was my gift? And my reward was I got you to smile and clap and give me love and appreciation for my dream. And I guess the evolution of my sport, which is wrestling, prevailing and not losing off where it becomes something that nobody wants to do or watch anymore. I think the next level of wrestling to me was created by a few of us out there. We stepped up the pace, and we changed the style, and we risked our lives to make things really, really entertaining. And that's the most important thing. I entertained you, you're happy. Do take some time out of your day and smile and be happy. As Duane said, it's easy to be happy and nice. I mean, it's not easy to be happy. It's easy to be nice and be kind. Happiness is something each one of us has to battle with, trying to find happiness. That's a never-ending struggle and never-ending dream and goal, So, but thanks so much, Rob, for everything, my friend. I appreciate you, and your patience. Sorry about some of the shit behind the scenes.
Yeah, man, don't worry about it. I mean, that's life, and it happens to everybody. But let me tell you one thing as we wrap it up here. One thing that I've noticed, and I know you're humble, but you're somewhat of a genius. And geniuses kind of have a part of their brain to where they can't, I don't want to say relate to certain things, but I mean, like, you're so super, super, super smart that you do talk a lot. And you're all over the place sometimes. But you always come back to where you started. And maybe I'm not doing this justice, but there's so many things that are going on inside your head. But somehow you manage to keep it all kind of centered. And people say, God, he never takes a breath, or he never shuts up, or blah, blah, blah. But that's the genius of you, because you're so excited to give people your knowledge and the things that you've learned, and life lessons, that it shows, like, it just exudes out of you. And, it's really positive to see you wanting to help other people, not just help yourself and rebuild your name, but to help other people, to show people that, this is where I came from, and this is how you try to get out of it. Or
being brought up around superstars and not being a superstar yourself, but almost being a superstar. And I never got to be a superstar, but I got to live a superstar life based on all sorts of other things, lots of variables. And the feeling I got from knowing superstars, and the fact that because I knew them, other people thought I was important, that was a nice feeling, because I was connected to people that were on a certain level. And that level was from hard work and consistently living their dream, and sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice. My grandfather was a superstar, and my uncle Brett was a superstar. Owen was a superstar. Davey was a superstar. Jim Neidhart was a superstar. Dynamite Kid was a superstar. Chris Benoit was a superstar. Now, Teddy Hart was a unbelievable athlete and a fantastic wrestler when I got the opportunity to do it. And the pressure was on me from an early age.
I can't imagine having to grow up with that name. You know what I mean? Like I can't even put myself in your shoes and know how much kind of pressure it was to live up to the Hart name. You know what I mean?
Just I take out of life that I'm trying to give people in the audience, the listeners, a perspective on. Oh, yeah, that's okay. It's okay. That's cool. I'm just finishing up now. If I can give you some tools that help you get through a 6-hour, 10-hour boring day at work, that you need to look forward to something after work. Find something to look forward to. So I try to look forward to having ice cream once a week. So if I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, if I have one reward, like just it's not. Duane was a guy to me that his happiness came from watching people with very little, what their smile was actually worth, because they don't smile a lot and they don't have a lot to smile about. And if you can bring it out of them, it was like getting a compliment out of somebody that was considered a prick. Does that make sense? And they're not really looking for much to be happy about. And most people, they don't care about what those people think at all. And that was what made him different, was he cared about their opinion and the fact that their opinion meant something to him. And I didn't understand until I kind of went back and I looked at my own life and I realized the same thing. I cared about what people that thought about. I wanted to know. I wanted the streets to know that I was a weed guy. I wanted the streets to know that I understood the homeless guy of losing his family and having nothing, no parents or no dream, or the poor girl on the street corner that didn't have shit ever given to her, and she was hustling for her life and she was trying to get out of there without getting killed or get a disease. And giving her hot chocolate at night it's changed her whole day, or made her, or bringing her some fruit. My dad would always be, go give him something to eat. Go, be kind. If you ever imagine walking in their shoes. So the right people trained me to understand. And like I say, it's the confusion that Teddy Hart's a certain way. It broke my heart. And so again, rebuilding that. But there's a ton of people out there that already know that I was a teddy bear and that I was a nice guy and that I went out of my way for my friends and that I was vulnerable because I believed in other people's dreams. And I was a sucker because I believed in other people telling me they're going to do something good and then didn't want to do the work. And they started off good, and a lot of people start off great, but they don't finish the race and they don't stay on the right path. So, and that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just to stay consistent and wean out the people that want to be negative and thank them for what they did when they're there. And hopefully they can come back in their better spots in their lives and reiterate or reinvent or, reconnect with me. So, but I'll let you go, Rob. I'm going to just try to get this, my stuff so I can move on in my life, because I'm stuck in limbo right now, right? So
I know, yeah, it's unfortunate, and look, it happens for a reason, right? I mean, Number one, you got a place to stay. That's like we were saying, people like.
I still have a beautiful house. I still have lots of stuff. As of right now, I'm in limbo waiting for a documentary to get the right pieces together.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck at where I'm. Just treading water. And I'm happy that when you're treading water, you appreciate the smallest bits of kindness that you get. So,
hey, the Lord let you wake up today. You woke up on the right side of the fence. So that's always a good day.
Thank you, my brother.
You got it, brother.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Have a nice day.
Buddy.
God bless you. See everybody out there. Wow. Thanks.
See you, Teddy. That wraps it up for another edition of Rebuilding the Foundation with Teddy Hart. Duane was a heck of a character. And this is a treat for me to meet the people in Teddy's life, like to meet the guys that have kind of kept him on, the path. Anything could have happened to Teddy over the years, but he was able to meet some people in his travels that were willing to help him out, like, a place to stay or meeting Raul, that would buy him food or buy him drinks. And there's so many other people that we're going to bring on the show that, I told my wife, like, yeah, we're going to have Teddy's friends on the show. And she's like, God, no one's going to listen to that. I beg to differ. These are very extraordinary people, and, well, a lot of rich people as well. So, I mean, the stories that they're going to have, a lot of us can't relate to, right? Because a lot of us, don't live I don't want to say elite lifestyle, but they don't live as a millionaire. But the people that he has in his life are still humble when they don't have to be, which is a great quality to have. Next week, we're going to have David Benoit on the show. son of the late Chris Benoit. I can't wait to get inside his head and talk to him for a while and kind of learn how he and Teddy met, obviously through wrestling, through his dad and all that, and how close the Benoit and the Hart family were to each other. So I'm looking forward to get David on the show, who also is a wrestler. And, because of the stuff that happened to his dad, or the stuff that his dad did, has kind of been blackballed from wrestling himself. So that'll be a very, very interesting conversation to have with him. Until next time, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on Rebuilding the Foundation with Teddy Hart. Take care, guys.
Thanks for listening to Rebuilding the Foundation with Teddy Hart. To keep up with the latest happenings with Teddy, follow him on Instagram at official Teddy Hart. You can also email us at rebuildingthefoundationpodcast@gmail.com. Join us next time for Rebuilding the Foundation with Teddy Hart, right here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.